Hello everyone, and welcome to this month's Crusader Kings 2 Featured Ruler Challenge. This time we are starting as King Mihajlo of Serbia in the 1066 start to fulfill the 3 requirements of this month's challenge. First, we must ensure that we never lose the Kingdom of Serbia, and that we never play as a non-Serbian. A Serbian Dream requires us to rule at least one other kingdom in the area, including either the kingdoms of Croatia, Hungary, or Poland. Our personal goal is to rule at least 2 of these 3. With or without me requires you to have 12 Serbian Dukes as vassals. Finally, Papal Support requires us to have 60 opinion or higher with either 8 Catholic bishops or 6 Catholic bishops and the Pope. These are the rules I will be playing with this game, as well as a single graphics mod to help make the map a little bit prettier. Without further ado, let's get into the game. The majority of this video will be played at 3 times speed to give you a general idea of what my goals and thought processes were throughout the campaign. It took me a total of 2 hours and 45 minutes approximately to complete this challenge, and I did it all in one take without any pause breaks. However, I will pause and slow down the video during key moments to give you an idea of what was going on. Immediately upon starting the game, I am looking for anyone who has claims or will inherit claims to the Kingdom of Croatia. I find the woman for the job in Princess Sika of Croatia. After marrying my genius heir to the future Queen of Croatia, I changed my succession law to elective. Since I am the only Duke or above tier Lord in the realm, only I get to vote. Essentially, I can now choose my heir, whoever I want. Naturally, I choose the genius son who I have married to the claimant of the Croatian throne. With that marriage secured, I take a few minutes to inspect my realm. Who are my vassals? Who are my children? How many do I have? And what are my laws? I set about choosing educations for several of my relatives and assigning nominal titles for opinion boosts with vassals. I now use the ledger to find several courtiers with high stats to take over several of my council positions, including the court chaplain who I need to convert numerous Orthodox sons to Catholicism. When inspecting my realm, I noticed that one of my sons controls the province of Zeta, which I, rightfully as the King of Serbia, should be owning, and thus I begin plotting to take over that province from my son to help boost and solidify my own power. This is where I begin planning for my future conquests. Using the numerous sons I started the game with, I inspect the most powerful local duchies in the Holy Roman Empire for potential alliances. I check the families of the dukes to find any who have suitable daughters to marry. Many of these duchies include the duchies of Austria, Bavaria, Tuscany, and even the mighty kingdom of Bohemia and Sicily. They all had daughters available for marriage. Thus, almost immediately upon starting the game, I have an entire arsenal of alliances to keep me safe from both the Byzantines to my east, and to assist me in any of my future conquests. With that said, I take care not to marry into the direct family line of the King of Hungary, as I plan to eventually lead an invasion of Hungary to take the throne directly for myself. As such, a non-aggression pact with the king from marriage would be counterintuitive to this plan. With my alliances secured, I invade the Kingdom of Croatia to press my daughter-in-law's claim for the throne. I call in all my available allies, and they are all more than happy to assist me in establishing dominance over the kingdom. Over time, we are able to easily win the war, and I establish an alliance with the new queen, firmly establishing my dynasty on the Croatian throne and paving the way for total control over Carpathia. With the combined forces of the Serbians and all of my allies, the little resistance that the Croatians throw at me is easily mopped up. Hardly a challenge. With that, my war for the Croatian throne has succeeded. I do notice, however, when I offer an alliance with my new daughter-in-law, that Venice has declared war on Croatia, due to their apparent weakness after the war. As such, I am forced to use my wealth to hire some mercenaries to defeat them. Over time, the Venetians would prove to be very useful in the campaign as a source of revenue and manpower. More on that later. My first grandchild from my heir is born, and my dynasty is now set to inherit the Croatian throne. At this point, it is simply a matter of time before my grandchildren and dynasty will be in control of a mighty Serbian empire. I check around the Byzantine Empire from time to time to see if there are any alliances I can use from the Greeks. Unfortunately, since they are all bloody heretics of the Catholic faith, I am unable to secure any of worth. I use this spare time to further cement my power by pressing the claims of my other daughter-in-laws, establishing my dynasty on as many thrones as possible. Salerno would prove to be a problematic ally due to constant revolts on their part. During this campaign, I use my gold for primarily two reasons: to upgrade my domain, and to hire mercenaries. As you can see here, I'm upgrading my barracks and walls of my castles as much as possible to give me as powerful levies as I can muster. At this point, I am strong enough to begin planning my invasion of Hungary. For the next several minutes, you will see me repeatedly checking whether I can call an invasion from the Pope. Since you must request permission from the Pope to take the kingdom, the Pope has to have both a high regard for your ruler and a low regard for the target. My ally in Sicily is proving to be more trouble than they're worth, and is making it hard for me to maintain high relations with the Pope, as he is constantly at war with him. In order to maintain my alliance network and not break trust, I reluctantly accept the call to arms, but maintain my distance from Papal forces. I experience varying degrees of success. Sending good Serbian soldiers to central Italy, attempting to establish my family on as many thrones as possible, is proving to be very costly. But what's a few peasant lives for the greater good of the realm, am I right? The death of my first king is a relief and boon to me, as I now am playing as a genius character whose wife is the neighboring queen of Croatia. My first, and hopefully only son, is set to inherit both kingdoms upon the death of his parents, uniting the Croatian and Slavic people under a single banner. We just have to pray to the good Lord that the little guy makes it to that stage of life. As you can see here, I am continuing to centralize council authority to the king, inching closer and closer to absolute power. I am looking for vassals likely to support me in order to appoint them as council members. My goal is the revocation of all council powers and the centralization of absolute power to me, God's chosen ruler of the Slavic people. One thing to note is that you should not let the size of the Serbian kingdom trick you into thinking we are weak. We may be 4 counties large, but at this point, we have a massive alliance chain that will come to our aid at the drop of a hat. Many of the surrounding kingdoms and duchies are secretly loyal to the Serbian crown. Many of the children of my dynasty are being educated in the thrift category to one day become intricate web weavers. I am doing this because the more loyal family members you have with high intrigue stats, the easier it is to pull off plots, assassinations, and any sort of other schemes that you can use to further your own power. Feeling that the war against the Hungarians is rapidly approaching me, I use the ledger to find several powerful commanders willing to lead the Serbian coalition to war against the Hungarians. It is around this time that I get frustrated, because all of my attempts to completely subdue the Kingdom of Sicily is being thwarted. My wife, who evidently has complete custody of our children, will not allow me to marry our daughter to a strong claimant of the Sicilian throne. As a result, I invite the claimant to my court and have his wife murdered, to prevent her from bearing his heirs, hoping that my wife will soon die and leave the children in my custody. I did not want to marry any extended cousins or kinswomen to the claimant, since I wanted to be as close to inheriting the throne as possible. Had I managed to marry my daughter to the Sicilian claimant, and waited for them to have an heir, assassinating the claimant would give the strong claim to his child, my grandchild. Then, after pressing the child's claim to the Sicilian throne, assassinating the child, God rest their soul, would give the kingdom to his mother, my sister. Then, the killing of my sister would have given the throne to me. Alas, however, God did not wish for such. At one point, I thought of assassinating the King of Hungary, leaving a child on the throne. The Pope would be more likely to grant my invasion request if a child is on the throne, and would pave the way for my conquest. This would not happen, however, as the king's intrigue stats were too high and mine were too low. To return to Venice, as you can see here, I have declared an extort tribute, casus belli war, against the Venetians. If they think they have the right to trade in Serbian clay, and to trade our goods, without any recompense to the Serbian crown and any fair reward for us, they are sorely mistaken. We wage a war and swiftly win it, not only giving me a hefty doubling of my income, but it also allows me to call them into my wars, once again increasing my sphere of influence. As you can see, I am only a few points away from the Pope granting me the invasion casus belli. 11 points at this moment. To increase the chances of the Pope granting me the claim, I take the theology focus and raise my piety any way possible. Going on a pilgrimage to Rome was evidently enough, as the Pope granted my request upon my return. It turns out that a little shoulder rubbing with the Pope, a little kissing up, is all that it required. It seems that the Pope finally sees eye to eye with me and has justified my invasion of Hungary. With the invasion granted, I immediately renew all of my alliances and prepare for war. The invasion is shaping up to be a cakewalk. With this casus belli, any lands that I occupy will be directly given to me to do whatever I will with it. I did not have the patience to occupy each and every province in this war, even though it would have been the easiest way to get this achievement. The downside to that is every province in the kingdom would receive the new administration penalty, making my conquest far less worthwhile for many years to come. As such, I only occupied several key provinces before demanding surrender and seizing the Hungarian throne to the Serbian king. God, it seems, does not favor the Hungarian people, as a Serbian king now sits upon the throne, with a combined coalition of Serbian nationalists, as well as an alliance network stemming all throughout the Holy Roman Empire. The Kingdom of Hungary and Serbia have been united, and will be from here on out. With the Kingdom of Hungary subdued, I have achieved gold in the first two parts of the challenge, the Serbian Dream and Papal Support. With my new kingdom under my firm control, I set about planning how I will reorganize the administration of this kingdom completely to Serbian rule. Not only will my Serbian Dukes be far more loyal than the native Hungarians, but 12 Serbian vassal dukes are required for the final part of this challenge. In order to establish complete Serbian dominance, I will be forced to wage countless wars with my vassals over time to revoke their titles and to lessen the Hungarian aristocratic hold over the people. I use a combination of claims, plots, and civil wars to begin stripping power away from the Hungarian nobles, revoking their ducal and county titles, and handing them over to loyal Serbian family members. This is the first of several civil wars that I fight for the Hungarian ducal titles. The Hungarian nobles are simply not strong enough to contend with the mighty Serbian crown, and are forced to submit to my demands. I am careful not to revoke land unlawfully, as this would result in massive vassal relation penalties, which is something I need to keep high if I want to maximize my vassal taxes, levies, and pave the way for primogeniture succession. The Second Civil War for Serbian dominance is much larger than the First Civil War was. This one encompassed the majority of the Hungarian nobility and gave me all of the legal rights that I needed to completely strip them from ducal authority and grant that power to Serbian nationalists. Another avenue of expansion that I pursue is war with the Pecheneg horde to my east. The liberation casus belli that I will use against them works similarly to a holy war, targeting an entire duchy for conquest, and either vassalizing or annexing the land. I would go on to wage 2 of these wars against the Tengri pagans to liberate the Wallachian kingdom from their tyrannical rule. They offered little resistance, and I easily liberated the Orthodox Duke already ruling there. So much for the heirs of Attila the Hun. With the unfortunate assassination of my second ruler, the kingdoms of Serbia, Croatia, Hungary, and the eventual kingdom of Wallachia have been united under a single Serbian ruler. All of the pieces are in place for our final victory, the creation of a Serbian empire. I immediately set about centralizing power to the Serbian Dukes, revoking titles and waging civil war against the Croatians and placing loyal Serbian nationalists in power. An unexpected but welcomed detour was the call for a crusade against Jerusalem, which I eagerly participated in. I pledged my loyalty and finished up with my current civil wars so that I could ready my men for the upcoming crusade. Serbian dominance of the Carpathians is nowhere near as important as slaying the infidels in the name of God. Even though the uniting of the Carpathian kingdoms was a wonderful and glorious achievement for Serbs everywhere, one fear loomed over my mind, and it was that my king was unable to produce an heir for a long time. Not only this, but he was a paranoid individual, causing him to believe that any children that his wife, the Princess of Sicily, birthed were actually not his. His fears would later become recognized as reality, as an affair, several, were discovered between his wife and several of the nobility in Sicily. This would break his heart, but would not deter his resolution to become the emperor of the Serbian people. During this civil war, the Crusade has finally been called. I am reluctant to allow my filthy Croatian vassal to run rampant over my lands, and am forced to end this civil war before leaving Serbian shores for the Levant. My vassal will end up paying dearly for causing this unholy delay. And this ends part 1 of this challenge. In part 2, we will continue the total Serbian conquest of Carpathia and see what fate lies in store for the Hungarian and Croatian nobles foolish enough to hold on to power. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.